Redditors who are not in love with their significant others, why are you still with them? Throw away. I honestly don't know because it's been more than 25 years and it's just easier to live as roommates than to go my own way. Even though in lot of ways that would be easier. Additionally, she would be royally ducked in so many ways. No real income, no place to really go. She wouldn't be able to afford a nice place. I'd be perfectly fine, but she'd be in a world of hurt. I don't necessarily love her, but I don't hate her enough to do that to her. So, I stay. I was the one super in love. I don't think he was. Once every 4 or 5 months, we'd have some sort of discussion. The last time, it was that he didn't know if what we had was love. I should have seen that as a warning, but I convinced him to stay with me after an hour discussion. I think he felt guilty. I stayed with him through suicide attempts, drug-induced psychosis, and moved countries for him. I imagine he felt an incredible amount of guilt and stayed with me because of that. I think he cared for my well-being maybe, but he wasn't in love. And it's painfully obvious now that I'm out of the relationship. My parents did not love each other, but have stayed together because of children. My parents too split up about 10 years ago, 15 years later than they should have. I grew up in a house really without any love, and while I'm fine, it definitely still shows. And my parents wasted decades of their lives being unhappy. My mother told me when I was 13 that the only reason she's still with my father is because of me and my 8 years younger sister, and that she doesn't love him anymore. My father, though, he told me that he loves her but doesn't know what to do anymore because they argue so much. Tough stuff for a 13-year-old. But nowadays, I think they will stay together till the end, just because they're used to the comfort and don't want any change. And because they want to provide us the best life possible and think that's only possible if they stay together. Over time, I learned to distance myself from all that stuff, but for a long time, it was really tough. I'm thankfully not in this relationship anymore, but out of fear that he'd do something to hurt himself, he threatened to do it when I first brought up that I wasn't happy in the relationship, and he became incredibly manipulative. We have a special needs daughter who doesn't talk until she's able to tell me that something happened and she can understand more complex ideas and situations. There's no way I'm putting her in someone else's hands. My husband and I just don't mesh. He doesn't like me and I don't like him. For the most part, we can get along and even have fun doing things together with our daughter. But we haven't been in years. We are both in our late 30s and we reasonably don't have family to help. Although once she starts going to school full time, I believe I will have more options to do something financially productive with my time. She had convinced everything was either normal or my fault. Then she cheated and is playing the victim because I read some of her messages after I found out she lied. Now it takes a year to divorce where I live, so technically still married for a year. Anyone reading this for personal reasons, just get out. It'll be better once it's all over, man. Just make sure you take a break from everyday life, work, everything, go somewhere you've never been to get out of the environment and have fun. It just sort of became a habit. And when I realized I didn't have the feelings anymore, we had two young children, and I didn't want to break up the family. And later, when we tried couples therapy, this didn't change anything, but our son was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago. So I felt we had to stay together until he was well. My ex didn't agree and we were divorced this summer. My son is almost through the treatment and is doing fine. I have not been this happy and relaxed in years, and so far the kids 6 and 9 years have coped well with me moving and when they're staying at my new place. My brother can't stand his wife. Hasn't really been in love with her since about a year before their wedding. He talks about divorce to me when we are alone, but he'll never do it. He thinks he'll never meet anyone else being 32 with no social life. Plus, there's a strong possibility she might kill herself if they broke up, or at least attempt it. So together they'll stay. I just hope they don't bring kids into it. My boss has been vocal about wanting to leave, but he has kids and no prenup, so he can't afford it. My cousin told me about 3 hours after he got married that he didn't want to get married, but now he was terrified he would lose his house and basically all his money, alimony plus child support. If they got divorced, I told him that he should have said something 3 hours ago, and he said he couldn't. I then asked him if this was such a big concern to him, why he didn't get a prenup. His exact words to me were, "Those don't actually exist. They're just made up for movies." They've been married just over 2 years now, and I'm pretty sure it's only going to end if she leaves him or one of them dies. Considering he's 26 and she's 23 or 24, it sounds like he's in for a long, miserable life. I am currently in an amazing relationship, textbook true love type of stuff. However, years back I was in a relationship with a woman who abused me physically, sexually, and otherwise, and I did not love her. Not for the last year or so when the abuse got bad. So why did I stay if it was so bad? Well, unfortunately, and this is true for abusive relationship as well as for mundane loveless relationships, people get wound up together and then it becomes very difficult to imagine your life without them. Even if it's not a good life, I guess people are better at surviving the current hardship than breaking away into the unknown. There's a lot more to my story, and everyone's story has its own details. But I think that the basic answer, you build a life with someone, it gets hard to throw that life away. Being in love seems like a state over which you have no control. I long ago made the decision just to love the woman who became my wife. Fortunately, she made the same decision about me. Romantic infatuation has faded, but our love for each other endures. It takes work to maintain to avoid taking each other for granted. Love is not an emotion, it is a practice. Edit. Thank you for the awards. I'm glad I could contribute to making some folks' day a little more hopeful and perhaps inspire a bit more love in the world. In my first relationship, I thought I had scored the jackpot. I was young and he was young and jacked and smart. He over-glorified himself, and I just couldn't see that. I looked up to him as a god, mainly because he kept saying I was bad at my studies and cooking and basically everything that I love to do. I thought I would never get someone better, so thus I stayed. I thought I loved him. I thought that was what love was. But I was just proud that I had gotten someone so amazing. I was stupid. When I was in a relationship with my ex, I liked her, cared for her, been there for her when she needed and gave space if she needed. I don't know if this is love. But she did none in return. She just said yes and that's it. She was only physically attracted to me, I guess. I don't think she ever loved me. She broke up with me for nothing one day. She wanted me out of her life. So I left. I agree with this. Most Redditors don't. Love is a choice, a commitment, a decision to trust and care for one another. Accept the other's faults and be loyal. The feeling of in love is just your body's natural way of trying to get you to mate. 100% this. I don't always want to be around my wife. She makes me mad sometimes, but I love her absolutely uncompromisingly, even when I'm angry at her. I hope she feels the same way about me. We started dating in high school, have been together for 16 years, and married 11 years this January. It's sometimes easy, but always worth it.